Hello everybody, I hope you're well and having a good day. I thought I'd just do a quick video about panic attacks. Panic attacks are something that I see and work with and support young people with quite often in the environment I work in. And they might come to me and tell me that they can't breathe or that they've got tummy ache. Usually with panic attacks, it's that they can't breathe. They might be shaking and they might be feeling quite lightheaded. And of course, they then worry that something is wrong with them. Now, a panic attack is when it's the highest state of anxiety that someone can have. And it's usually triggered when someone gets a bit overwhelmed with really high levels of stress. And so I say to the young people when I'm working with them, when I've got them calmer, we look at trying to identify, the triggers that are happening in their life. Obviously looking at things like how they're sleeping, are their basic emotional needs met? And then it's about working on, looking at what is happening in their lives at the moment, and giving them tools to work on reducing their levels of high emotion. An analogy I used recently was that no one ever gets from, when you're trying to cross a river, we don't get from one side of the river to the other side of the river without going across a bridge. And each step on that bridge could represent a sign that the young person is getting a little bit more overwhelmed. So recently I was called to deal with a young person who in class was crying and shaking and unable to talk. And so the person who was teaching the class panicked a little bit and called me up because they thought it was a medical emergency. And what it transpired was the young person was very angry. So I stood with her, I breathed with her, and then once the breathing was, we'd done a bit of work on the breathing and calming the breathing down, we went for a little walk around school just to get a little bit of, change of state, change of place. We went for a little walk around the school, burnt off some of the energy, and then by the time we'd finished going for our walk, the young person was able to articulate what had bothered her, and I was able to share that information, and it meant that the young person could attend what they were missing. Other things that I've found that have triggered high states of emotion in young people is a lack of control. So they're really, really worrying about a particular thing, and they don't know how to manage the situation. So they end up getting really overwhelmed and reaching a really high state of emotional arousal. And at that point, their body is shaking, they're unable to talk. And obviously that's a horrible feeling in itself. And so working with a young person, if they are having panic attacks, on identifying what it is that causes them to react, making sure that first of all, making sure that their emotional needs are met, then working on what it is that's triggering them and looking at a way in which they can help themselves. Because it can be tempting, if your young person calls you crying and wanting to leave an environment, to go and pick them up. And that then helps them to calm down because that you might be the person that helps them with their emotional regulation. What happens in that situation, though, is that they don't get the opportunity to learn for themselves what helps them. And in fact, I had someone come to see me on the last day of term that I've seen several times over the last month or so, telling me she couldn't breathe. And I said to her, what was what have you learned? What have we talked to you about before? And she sat with me and she breathed with me, and that helped her to feel a lot better. So get them to think out, when they are calmer, work with them on thinking of a plan of action. And that might help them to recognise when they're starting to get overwhelmed in the future. Anyway, have a good day. Bye.